What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Worth the Crowd podcast. What's up?
What's going on, Doug? Happy holidays.
We got Coach with us today. I think Coach is going to be coming on going forward. If you're watching the YouTube video, you can see. It is football season, and we're recording Sunday morning.
Happy holidays to opening Sunday.
Yep. We're recording on Sunday morning, first NFL Sunday. World is back where it should be.
We're at peace.
We're at peace. Maybe not in Russia and Ukraine yet, but in America, we're at peace. All right, so
now
do a little preview for the show. Ryan Clark, in general, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
This seems to be like a once a month topic for us.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus. We're gonna do a recap of the week 2 of college football. Alabama, they looked. I know they looked good last night against UL Monroe, but Kalen DeBoer, maybe not long for that. And then Bill Belichick's debut. We want to talk about that and. His significant other, maybe. And then the week 1 of NFL so far. And then we'll talk about a little bit of the games today. So let's get into it. Start with old Ryan Clark here.
All right. Mr. Ryan Clark. There's actually been 2 instances of Ryan Clark this week. We got a double whammy out of him this week. Doug, I don't know if you saw either one of these. I think we talked a little bit last night about the Peter Schrager comment. But the first one, they literally happened back-to-back days on ESPN. It's kind of a generational run for him.
Pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended for what I'm about to say, because his comments on ESPN was they were having the conversation about Arch Manning and everybody, and they were having that conversation of what makes a player generational and all this and that. Well, Mr. Ryan Clark, and I'll pull up the exact quote here. Ryan Clark said, when he was like, what is the definition of generational? He said, I don't think Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning were generational talents. Now, let's get into what I would consider generational. So I think there's 2 different types of generational players. I think there's generational talent, which means your just physical nature and how you play the game physically, like either by your body type, like if a LeBron James type build. That's generational. You don't ever see, 6'8", 260 moving like he does. Again, physically stuff. So there's generational talent, and then there's generational careers or performers, I would say. I would say Ryan Clark is not wrong, because if you read his exact wording on it was generational talents. Tom Brady and Drew Brees were not generational talents. I mean, I can't say that somebody that went 5th round in the NFL draft is a generational talent.
Right. Yeah, Peyton Manning's questionable.
Peyton Manning is kind of on that fence line of you could make an argument as a generational talent, because that was he was great at Tennessee, number 1 overall pick. Like, he's got all the makings of being a generational talent.
There's an argument for it.
But I would say that talent-wise, Brady and Brees are not generational talents. I mean, Drew Brees kind of broke the standard of, short quarterbacks don't make it. So, and Drew Brees had a hell of a career. But Brady and Brees are generational. They've had generational careers. I mean, you don't see people every day doing the stuff that Drew Brees did, throwing the ball with all the passing records he originally broke before Brady broke them because of how long he played and everything. And then you don't see people dominating the NFL the way Tom Brady did for his career. So they definitely had generational careers, but generational talents, no. So one of the very few times you'll ever hear me say, Ryan Clark, you are 100% right, just based off how you worded it. Because he's not wrong. But then we get into his other comment, which again happened the next day. They were it was on Friday. They were discussing the Thursday night game between the Eagles and the Cowboys. And, it was, if I remember correctly, it was Ryan Clark, Peter Schrager, who's an NFL writer for ESPN, Dan Orlovsky, and I can't remember who the 4th person was.
I don't remember her name.
On stage. It might have been Mina Kimes or whatever. I think that's.
I think it was.
I think that's her name.
I think it was.
He said, they're going back and forth. They're talking about CD dropping four catches in the game, including a crucial one that pretty much decided the game. So they're going back and forth, all this and that. And Ryan Clark stops the conversation and goes, and this is the exact quote, reading it off here. We shouldn't do this on TV, and I apologize I apologize if people think this is rude, but that's the non-player in you talking. And he went on, and Ryan Clark was trying to insinuate he's looking at it from a fantasy football point of view. And so Peter Schrager was like, I'm not looking at it from a fantasy football point of view. He said, he's like, don't belittle me like that on national TV. He said, I can come up here and say, I can come on here and say 3X players are saying one thing and give an alternative perspective, which by all means he can. Not saying that he's right, but he's just giving a perspective. It's not a fact. Then he said, and then he, as Peter Schrager's going on, Ryan Clark then kind of doubled down on it and was like, what I need you to do is to not get mad at me and let me finish for one. It wasn't about you. It was going to be about me. And like, I don't like the whole you didn't play, you don't get to talk about it aspect, because I do understand it to an extent. There maybe is certain things that only players know about. There might just be, there are certain things like that. But as far as, they did go to school for this. They do get paid to do this. Like, they do have insider information from inside of locker rooms that they can use, all this and that. Like, they have every right to talk about it, just like we're on here talking about it right now.
Right.
I don't like that whole perspective. But here's my biggest thing when it comes to Ryan Clark. And this might get a little controversial, but so be it. There's a certain somebody that Ryan Clark shares that desk with a lot of times on ESPN that also does not have the player credibility that he has never gone at before, saying that's a non-player in you talking. Sure, you can guess who I'm talking about. Talking about Stephen A. Smith. So we kind of date back to the whole RG3 when he said you have a white girlfriend, you wouldn't understand. It kind of turns back into this where we go back to this. Are you only going at him because he's white? Like, I'm not saying that is his reason, but I'm just saying, like, why hasn't he gone at anybody else like that? Why is Peter Schrager the first person he's gone at like that? So, I mean, Ryan Clark, I am not a fan of Ryan. Ryan Clark was a fine NFL player. He was a part of one of the all-time best defenses for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They won a Super Bowl. But Ryan Clark as an analyst I don't understand how many more times that he's got to say stupid stuff on Twitter or say stupid stuff on air and keep a job on ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, like, he should probably maybe stick to his own podcast. His podcast is actually really entertaining, and maybe he should just stick with that, and he can say whatever the fuck he wants. But to go on ESPN and say that,
attack another ESPN employee,
right? And he issued an apology afterwards.
But that seems to be his MO.
But yeah, sorry.
Just go up there and say whatever you want, and then just think an apology is going to fix it.
Yeah, no. The damage is already done. He probably doesn't give a shit what he said to him. Peter probably doesn't give a fuck what he said to him, really. He's just going to say, look, you're on national TV. I'm not going to let you just say that shit to me and get away with it. So I'm going to try and defend myself a little bit. And he did.
Right.
And Peter,
it's also
Schrager
not like
a really good analyst, I think. So,
right. And it's also, it's not like Peter Schrager, some new ESPN analyst at ESPN. Right. Like he's just got into this, a year or so ago. He's been doing this. Right. So he is a very credible, reliable person, for an alternative perspective of things. But yeah, Ryan Clark, my goodness. Again, I don't know how many more times you can just say stuff and get away with it. Like,
look, this boils down to anytime you make it personal, you run out of arguments. That's what happens. Yep. For the topic they were talking about with CeeDee Lamb, he ran out of arguments because maybe he thought in the back of his head, Peter Schrager was kind of right. And he was like, you know what? Fine. I'm just going to take a personal shot. I have nothing else to say. So I'm going to go ahead and just do it this way. And that, like you said, that is his MO. He did the same thing with RG3. And here we are. So eventually something's got to give. And, ESPN being ESPN.
But this is also what happens when back in, 2016, 2018, when they started going through, when ESPN started making all these budget cuts with certain people. And now a lot of their top guys that used to make ESPN are over at Fox or
they're doing their own thing
on doing FanDuel or at Barstool, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
They still have plenty of good people. Like, don't get me wrong.
They do.
Yeah, this is what happens. And now you're hiring people that, for the love of God, they had that one girl on First Take a month ago when Drewski was on there who had a Barry Sanders jersey on, and she said she called it a Shador Sanders jersey.
She was close. No. Kept it in the family.
No, not even close. The only relatable thing was just the fact the last name was Sanders. That's it. Not even the same era of football. Not the same era of football. not the same family, not the same team, not the same position. I mean, and also Barry Sanders is one of the biggest names in not just the NFL,
Football
sports in general.
ever.
How the hell do you mess that up?
Look, maybe she got nervous or something and missaid it. I don't know. But there's a reason that ESPN, I'm sure ESPN's ratings are down. I mean, I don't watch freaking ESPN anymore, dude.
Dude, listen, unless there's a game on ESPN or like now, like College Game Day, I turn on College Game Day Saturday mornings.
Yes.
I don't watch it. Like, even if I happen to listen to the Pat McAfee show, like, not saying like if I happen, like I don't want to listen, but like if I do watch the Pat McAfee show, I watch it when it goes off air on ESPN and he goes back to YouTube when Pat McAfee can do the Pat McAfee show the way he wants to. So
yeah, unfortunately, ESPN and Disney, there were businesses.
And I'm sorry for people who already bought Red Zone before they went to that move to ESPN, because now you're talking 12 hours of commercial-free football, and now there's commercials all over the place. And Nick Wright got on and was like, you all are being selfish when it comes to this. We don't have to have. And I'm like, brother, we've had it forever. Why all because some big company decided to buy it? Does that have to change? I mean, yes, it's because a big company decided to buy it, but we've had it forever. There are people that legitimately bought Red Zone over Sunday Ticket for the simple fact of they could just pretty much watch whatever. You can't watch the full game, but you keep up with everything. For some people that only watch football for fantasy football, Red Zone was perfect for them.
Yeah, I mean, with them being businesses, you have to, numbers unfortunately are everything. So things like this will happen. But, I mean, they're lucky to keep Pat McAfee. I mean, I think he single-handedly saved ESPN alone, because if he's not on College Game Day, that show alone.
But we say that, but I see so many people that say negative things about Pat McAfee with College Game Day, and I don't understand why. Like,
I don't know.
But
probably the same people didn't like.
And also, speaking of ESPN with saying certain, with hiring certain people and everything. Did you see after ESPN announced Bussing with the Boys would be on ESPN like on Mondays, and then I think it was like Thursdays and Fridays or something like that. Dave Portnoy made a comment saying ESPN is poaching all my talent.
I mean,
so
didn't Pat start with Barstool too? I mean, look, I say what you want about El Presidente. The dude knows what he's doing. Okay, he's not. He knows what sells and what doesn't.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, so maybe he's not 100% wrong. Anyways.
Speaking of somebody that may not know what they're doing, though, how about Kalen DeBoer at Alabama? All right, so we talked about, obviously, he had a good game. He had a good game last night against UL Monroe, but again, it's UL Monroe. They won 72-0. All around just looked good, obviously, against a lower level opponent. But the game against Florida State had a lot of people up in arms. Obviously, a majority of it wasn't even the fact that they lost. And we said this last week on the show as well. It's not really the fact that they lost. I mean, it was shocking that they lost to Florida State, yes. But it's not even the fact that they lost. It's how they lost. The lack of effort on the field was just not there. We had said last week on the show, if Nick Saban walked into that locker room and said, I'm taking back over this team, I don't believe half the roster would still be there. And so it had me thinking, a lot of people, and I like to run away with this kind of stuff too, because I like to create stuff like this. What if Kalen DeBoer got fired? Now, he has a $70 million buyout. So the likelihood that he's going to get fired is very slim. Like, I don't care what people say. He could go. I know people going, if he has a losing record this year, which I don't think he will, but if he had a losing record, they're going to fire him no matter what. I don't think you're paying that $70 million buyout. You can't make me believe it.
You thought of that? I mean, people thought about that. The same thing about Jimbo Fisher. Look at him.
I mean, yeah, but I guess, but I don't see it. They could.
Alabama's got a lot of money in the football.
Well, according to Nick Saban, they don't. So which one is it? So
well. I don't think Nick Saban was fully in on the NIL piece, though.
But anyways, so now let's play the game that everybody else does. If Kalen DeBoer got fired from Alabama this year, who are some coaching candidates for them? So you go through the long list. So I have broke this down to 4 different categories. So I've got the realistic hires, the people who are more than likely, would probably get the job. I've got the under the radar targets that they should probably go for, but won't because they're not a big name or anything like that. My third group is the job big enough to pull them away? It's 3 coaches at other schools, whereas Alabama a big enough job to lure them away from where they're at now. And then the last one is the unlikely candidates, but I guess it could be possible. So let's go realistic. Realistic, I have Dabo Swinney of Clemson. We've been talking about forever. I think Dabo, it's kind of destiny for him to be the Alabama head football coach at some point. I just think he just did not want to be the successor to Saban. That's why he didn't jump on the job right away. So I do think Dabo's a realistic one. The other one, we watched yesterday, Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. I think former Alabama offensive coordinator. I think he's right in line to be one of the top candidates as well. And then the last one, the name's been thrown out, and I think would be a fantastic hire for Alabama. If you're talking about just trying to get people to show effort and you want to reset culture at Alabama, DeMeco Ryans the head coach of the Houston Texans. Former Alabama player. I think you're talking about you want a culture reset and try to get it as close to what Saban had. If you don't get Dabo, DeMeco would probably be your best option. Now, the under the radar, and again, these are culture setter guys that I think if you're trying to change culture and you want to build a culture at Alabama, you may want to look at these guys because they've had success at where they're at. First one, Brent Key, the head coach at Georgia Tech. You look at what that guy's done at Georgia Tech since he's gotten there. I mean, Georgia Tech's been a competitive football team for as much as what they can be with the talent they have. So I don't think you put him at a higher level school where he has more NIL and all this to play with, who says that he couldn't be a fantastic coach for Alabama. And then the second one, I think he's done a great job recruiting and everything else he's done. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri would be another kind of under the radar guy that I think you would kind of look at. So now the 3 guys, is the job big enough to pull them away from where they're at? First one's Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. Is the Alabama job big enough to pull him away from Notre Dame? What do you think?
I don't know.
The job came open today. Do you think the job is big enough for Marcus Freeman to walk away from Notre Dame?
Money talks. They say what you want about, I don't want to leave my school like that. Yeah, you double my salary, I'm going to go. So okay. I don't know what he's getting paid, but I was just looking at like DeMeco Ryan. Like he's getting paid about $5 million a year from the Texans. So it's like, okay, you pay me like $8 million a year. You want me to come coach Bama? Yeah, I'm gonna leave the NFL probably. I mean, yeah. So if they pay him enough, I mean, yeah, sure, why not?
What about Dan Lanning in Oregon? It's a little different because now you're talking that Nike money.
I don't know about that because I think Oregon's in a good spot. I don't think he'd leave.
Okay, and then the last one was Steve Sarkisian of Texas.
No, I mean Texas is, a better program. Could be a better pro football program right now than Bama. So I don't think he would leave. I mean, especially while Arch is there, so at least not in the next couple of years. But I mean, Texas is on the verge of being. I mean, if they are already
the team to beat in the
programs
SEC.
in the country, well, just in the country.
All right, and then the last section, which was the unlikely but possible guys. I put Nick Saban on there to return potentially. Who says why not? We never thought Urban Meyer would go back to coaching, but he didn't.
Yeah, but Urban was a lot younger.
Urban Meyer on there as well. Could the Alabama job entice Urban to go back to coaching for 4 or 5 years to reset the program and hand it off to somebody else?
Maybe. That's more likely than Saban.
And then the last one, which is everybody's favorite, seems to be the favorite in terms of one of the name they like to throw around. What about Deion?
Deion, I mean, I'll tell you what.
He has not shown me enough at Colorado to show that he can win at a big-time school.
And no, not yet.
Could he recruit at a big-time school? Probably, absolutely. But that's not the problem with Alabama now. It's not a lack of talent. It's
a little bit culture right now.
It's everything else.
I mean, I think if you're going to hire someone to get your players to play hard and want to play for them, I think Deion's that guy. I mean, he can do that. And you give him, the name of Alabama to go recruit guys. Yeah, I mean, kids coming out are like, I'm still going to go to Alabama over Colorado. It's SEC. So you give Deion that
Unless your name is Travis Hunter, because Travis Hunter could have gone anywhere and still chose to go with Deion.
Yeah, and that shows that Deion can still recruit. He's a good recruiter. I mean, the fact that he is still pulling guys to come play for him in Colorado is pretty good. So I don't know. I mean, out of those unlikely candidates, I think he actually might be the top one between the Saban coming back and Urban coming back. I would say Deion might be your top one for that category.
But also, let me preference this by saying, when I say, we go through this, who should Alabama hire? I don't think Kalen DeBoer is a bad coach.
He's not.
Because we saw what he did at Washington. All right. So I think there is such a thing, though, as good coach, wrong situation.
Yeah, just maybe a bad fit.
I don't think Kalen DeBoer. There are certain coaches that fit in certain regions of the country. I don't think Kalen DeBoer is fit to coach a team down south. I don't think he can coach an Alabama, a Georgia, a Miami, a Florida, an LSU. I don't think he's fit to be that kind of guy because he's too laid back of a coach. For those teams down south, you can't be laid back. I think he's more built for West Coast / Northern style football. I think that's where he fits in. So, if you talk about, like, let's just say for whatever reason, USC fires Lincoln Riley, I think Kalen DeBoer would be a fantastic hire for USC to go get because I think he fits USC. But the South, it's just good coach, wrong situation for him.
And so I was looking up his contract. So he signed last year. He signed an 8-year, $87 million contract with Bama. So that runs through December 1st, 2031. So his initial salary is $10 million a year. That increases by $250,000 annually. And so if he gets fired without cause, Bama would owe him 90% of his remaining deal. But, you say like the bad situation. They signed the guy to an 8-year deal. They thought he was going to be, this is it. This is the coach for the foreseeable future. So realistically, MFO's going nowhere. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I don't see them cutting ties with him.
They can't. Financially, they can't. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I didn't even realize it was that much, but he's getting paid $10 million a year to coach them. More this year. So 2 point.
Yeah, that's why I said I can't see a world where they do even if they went 5-7 this year. I know Alabama fans would want him,
Yeah, they're calling for his head, but
they'd be calling for his head. But you realistically, from a financial standpoint in college football, you can't fire him.
Well, so it'd be 90% of his remaining deal. So I don't know if that means like, all right, $87 million contract, but
so
you get paid. You get paid 10, 20, 30
contract.
I mean, you'd have to wait at least 5 years before you could even think about getting rid of him. And he needs time to. I mean, especially in football, let's give him a few years to see how the recruiting goes. I mean, the SEC is very talented. Let's not, forget about that. There's a lot of good teams in the SEC. But now we're saying all this based on the Florida State game. Now I know they almost made the playoff last year. I don't think they didn't end up making it, but they were close. And they go 10-2 last year,
or 10-3 total.
10-3. Okay, but we're saying all this based on the Florida State game. Let's be completely honest here. Florida State does not look bad.
No,
Florida State looks like a very good football team right now.
I mean, that could turn around to be it's an embarrassment, like, for Alabama standards. It's an embarrassment of a loss to them, the way that it looked and everything. But, like, you could go back at the end of the year. If Florida State finishes, anywhere in the top 15 in the country, it's not a bad loss.
No, it's not a bad loss.
On the road.
And it doesn't take them out of playoff because you have all these other SEC games you have a chance to win.
Correct. Now, the argument has been if they look like that against Florida State, what do they look like the rest of the year? That's the argument that people are
First game, I think people are thinking a little too much into it. Let's let him play an SEC game first, and let's just see and figure it out. I mean, the fact that they won 10 games last year and they're still complaining about the coach, that's a fucking problem. They were spoiled. That's called spoiled brats a little bit. They were spoiled with Nick Saban, and I get it. But let's give the guy a little bit. He just won 10 games for your program. A lot of college football programs can't say that. So, and you blame the organization because you paid him $87 million. You're paying him $10 million a year. So, and it was an 8-year deal. They thought this guy was it. If they didn't think that, they would have only signed him to a 3 or 4 year deal.
So let's move on to maybe another little bit of an overreaction after one game. Maybe. Bill Belichick's college debut. Monday night against TCU. Let me tell you, the first 2 possessions of the game, North Carolina goes out and makes a defensive stop on the first drive, get the ball back, drive all the way downfield, and they score a touchdown on their opening possession. Had everybody in the country on Twitter going, oh my God, Bill Belichick's back. Skip Bayless went on Twitter and was like, I've seen enough. This is a national championship level offense. I mean, just going on and on. I don't think from that point on, North Carolina for the next 2 hours and 15 minutes completed a pass.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like, it was horrible. I mean, it was a pathetic excuse. Bill Belichick, that Bill Belichick led team, I can't say Bill Belichick because he can't physically go out there and play the games. But that team and the preparation and everything that they looked at. I mean, they looked like they didn't even belong in Division One.
It looked
was
bad.
horrible. It was horrible. And I get it. It is tough. Bill Belichick literally came to North Carolina. First of all, he has not coached in college before. So it is a little bit different of a game, but it's still football at the end of the day. Second, he does have, and I'm not joking, you can look this up, 70 new players on that North Carolina roster.
70?
All right. 70 new players on the North Carolina roster. So you literally have turned an entire roster from last year upside down. All right. So I do get it. I give him a little bit of a pass for that reason. You've got way too many new people still trying to figure stuff out. And because you're Bill Belichick, you got way too many young kids trying to figure out how to, work with you at the same time. But we talked about this a little during the summer and everything. Where did Bill Belichick go wrong? Because Bill Belichick as an NFL coach was so close-knit. Nothing gets leaked out. Nothing, no reporters, no fans, no nothing at practices, even though they did their own stuff, with, cameras and everything else at the practices. But let that be, no, so close. And now all of a sudden, Bill Belichick is like, it's like watching Basketball Wives with him. He's just it's like his life is a nonstop reality TV show with his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson.
That's where he went wrong. He got some younger
my man
tail, and he's living life.
Got some young tail, and it is just, I mean, you talk about, they say a woman can change a man's life. I mean, that literally flipped Bill Belichick.
Fucking 180.
I mean, she was on the field talking to him in the middle of the game.
Yeah, she's running the team. That's probably why they played like that.
What is going on?
I don't know. But he's living life.
So, and here's the other thing. So now the debate has been, have been going back and forth going, does this affect Bill Belichick's look as a coach, all time? And people are kind of all on the fence, 50-50, of saying, no, whatever he does in North Carolina doesn't affect him. And then there's people that go, yeah, this definitely affects him. And I think it's got to affect him a little bit. Just from the sole reason of this, Doug, because, we say all the time that behind every great quarterback is a great coach. All right. But here's my thing. Bill Belichick has been a horrible football coach without Tom Brady, if you really look at it.
Okay.
So with Tom Brady, he has a career 221-67 record. This is everywhere outside of North Carolina because they've only played one game. I wasn't going to count that. Anywhere Bill Belichick has been the head coach at is counted in the without. And then every game he's coached in with Brady is with. So with Brady, he has a career 221-67 record, an average of 370.2 yards per game, and they average 27.9 points per game. This is just offense. I'm not looking at everything. This is just offense because I'm going to get to at the end. Without Brady, that has included him having quarterbacks. He had 91. He had Bernie Kosar with the Browns. 92, Mike Tomczak. You know who that is? Okay. I move on. For 3 straight years, and from 93 to 95, he had Vinny Testaverde in Cleveland, where he did have a little bit of success with Vinny Testaverde. Then he got 2000 first year with the Patriots. He had Drew Bledsoe. Then he had Tom Brady. Middle of that career, he had 1 year with Matt Castle because Brady tore his ACL first game of the year.
Yep.
And that's kind of where the whole Brady needs Belichick, Belichick needs Brady, or Belichick may not need Brady thing kind of started, because that year with Matt Castle, they averaged 365 total yards of offense and averaged 25.6 points per game. So that's where the whole stigma of Brady's a system quarterback went. Well, my friend. Then they finished the career with Brady. Then 2020, he had Cam Newton. And then 2021 through 2023, he had Mac Jones. But, I mean, so here's my point in saying all this and why it's only offense. Bill Belichick in his career has never been able to figure out offense. Ever. And unless he has Thomas Edward Patrick Brady at quarterback. Okay?
That full name is crazy.
So he's never been able to figure it out. So, and especially in today's game. So what made Nick Saban so good? Because Nick Saban, when he first started at Bama, and even when he was at LSU, was strictly ground and pound offense. We're going to run the ball down your throat.
Ground and pound.
And they're going to play hard nosed. Those defenses were nasty in the early years of Saban. And what happened when the script flipped in football in general, NFL and college, and the game became an offensive game? What did you see Saban do? He flipped the script. Still had good defenses because he's Nick Saban. And now all of a sudden, that's when you saw Tua and Jalen Hurts, and you saw the quarterback start to come out of Alabama. Then all of a sudden, you're watching Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper, Alvin Ridley, Jalen Waddle, Devontae. You're watching all these receivers start to come out. Why? Because Nick Saban adapted to the game. Bill Belichick never adapted to the game. He is still stuck in 1994 and can't get out of it. And the numbers prove it. Without Tom Brady, he has been, 81-98 is not a good record.
No.
And technically 81-99 if you want to include the North Carolina game.
Yeah,
all right,
not good at all.
So that's where I say this has to affect him at some point, because now at some point we've all kind of like gone on and said Bill Belichick was the GOAT, but like I think this tells more about Tom Brady than it does about Bill Belichick. Now, I'm not saying that Brady didn't need Belichick. Brady did need Belichick because Belichick put together some great defenses around Tom Brady. So they did still need each other. But in terms of the Patriot way and all that, that was never Bill Belichick. That's Tom Brady. So, but there's been great coaches in history that if you go through some of the greatest coaches of all time, they've been able to not necessarily maybe win Super Bowls, but still win games with multiple other quarterbacks. Like if you look, we go through some of the all times here. Like you look, Joe Gibbs was the head coach of the then Washington Redskins. He won a Super Bowl with Joe Theismann, won a Super Bowl with Doug Williams, and also won games with Mark Rippon and Mark Brunell. Like great coaches can win with multiple different. Look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid in his career has gone from Donovan McNabb to Alex Smith to now Patrick Mahomes. He won the big one with Mahomes, but he was still winning with other guys. I can't name another quarterback that Belichick consistently won with. He's gone through a cycle of them, unless his name is Tom Brady.
Yeah, but do you think he just has too much control over the offense? He can't figure it out.
I don't think he does at North Carolina. I think he gave up control. I think in New England he definitely did because he was the GM.
Okay. Well, yeah, North Carolina, he should just go out and hire a nice offensive coordinator and let them run the offense.
And that's the thing. If you're going to be this laid back, I only want to, be this, be with my girlfriend and everything, brother, I'd be trying to do everything I can to hire whoever so I don't have to worry about it.
Right. Right.
So, but like he's just never been able to figure out offense. And that's kind of been like a couple weeks ago when we were talking about when TJ Watt got paid from the Steelers. And how we were talking about how Mike Tomlin kind of in that kind of same boat where he's just never adapted, where if you're a defensive-minded coach, you should be able to do more with less talent. So I'd be spending my money on the offense knowing I trust myself to coach up the defense. And Bill Belichick's never done that. I would almost bet. Now, granted, they never won a Super Bowl with him, but where is Bill Belichick and Tom Brady for a lot of their numbers and wins if they don't go make that trade for Randy Moss? And really the only reason they were able to make that trade was because Randy Moss started to become a headache with the Raiders and everything. So they got him basically for cheap. But outside of Randy Moss, they've had to rely on, and no disrespect to these guys, they've had to rely on 4th, 5th round white wide receivers that just happened to end up being good.
Maybe they have an eye for talent though. There's a pattern with those guys.
They got let's be real, Doug. They got lucky with Wes Welker, who was actually pretty good in college. So it's not like he was a shock per se.
Right.
And they got lucky with Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman was a quarterback in college.
I know. I'm just saying, there
but
might
outside
be a little
of that,
bit of a pattern.
you can't name a wide receiver that they homegrown.
No, not like that.
Made.
But
he's just never been able to figure it out.
But is that also the Tom Brady effect too, though?
Yes, because Brady makes them.
They got to run
Wes
routes.
Welker was also blessed to have Tom Brady, and then when he left and went to Denver, he had Peyton Manning.
Yeah, look, you got to put yourself in good situations.
Correct.
Two of the best.
Great self-awareness out of that guy.
Yeah, why not? But I feel like even for Brady, like the Brady effect for receivers is that He's telling you exactly how to run the route. He's like, I'm telling you what this needs to look like so we can succeed.
You have to go here. If you do this exactly like this,
right,
it's going to work. If you mess this up in any way, it's not going to.
Yeah. Now then it's on them to learn from it, practice, work their ass off pretty much to make themselves great. And that's what happened with Welker and Edelman. But
he's just never been able to figure out, without Tom Brady, he's never been able to figure out a quarterback. He's never been able to figure out how to move the ball on offense.
Yeah.
And even
he better figure it out quick in North Carolina.
His last year in New England, Doug, it was his, I'm trying to make sure I'm correct here. Yeah. It was his worst, Bill Belichick, in terms of yards per game and points per game. His last year in New England, they averaged, and this is 2023. I mean, we are above and beyond the top, offensive of football. 276 yards per game, and they averaged 13.9 points per game.
That's horrible.
And they scored, 14? They finally got a late touchdown, I think. Or no, I don't even think they did. They only scored 7 against TCU.
Yeah.
So
first drive of the game, and that was it.
I mean, Bill Belichick's never, I don't know if he's got the ability to adapt outside of adapting to his girlfriend. But outside of that, I don't know if he's got the ability to adapt in football. And I'm sorry, at the end of the day, if you don't think that this does not affect how people will look at him as an all-time coach, I can't agree with that. It is going to affect him in one way or another. It is going to affect him.
Well, we'll see what the rest of the season holds for North Carolina. I mean, this could be another. No, not really. I mean, they played horrible. It was horrible. TCU is a decent team, but they made them look like you said, they didn't even look like they're supposed to be D1.
I mean, TCU did to North Carolina what Georgia did to TCU in the national championship a couple years ago.
Fair point, right there.
All right, let's stick into the college football. Let's talk about week 2 of the college football season. So we did what ended up on paper not looking like a lot of great games, as Doug leaves me. Anyways, what looked like on paper not really a great slate of games. We actually got some good football yesterday, surprisingly. Just going through some of the top 25 games, Baylor and SMU, what a game that was early on at noon. Baylor ended up winning that in overtime on a game-winning field goal, 48-45. We all thought we were going to get a national upset with Troy potentially upsetting Clemson. They were up 16-3 at halftime. They ended up losing 27-16. South Florida with a major upset on Florida, 18-16. So now it kind of has you questioning, is South Florida for real or is Florida overrated? You got a great game at the end of the night between Arizona State and Mississippi State, where Mississippi State ended up pulling it out 24-20. Michigan, Oklahoma, fun game to watch. Not really as close as maybe 24-13 doesn't look as bad, but that game wasn't as close as what it shows. But just kind of going over some of these, what I took away from the week. Penn State and Clemson. Now, Penn State won their game against FIU 34-0. But they struggled in the going into half. They were only up 10-0 at halftime. They ended up, obviously, like I said, winning 34-0. But it's kind of alarming that they weren't able to put together a dominant performance against FIU. And then Clemson, talking about them, they were down 16-3 at halftime to Troy. I mean, coming off a loss to LSU, which isn't a bad loss, but they didn't necessarily look good. And then this one, they don't look good either. I don't feel good about either school going past this week. Arch Manning, he got his little bounce back game after playing Ohio State last week. They're playing against San Jose State. And listen, box score wise, looked good. 195 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also had a rushing touchdown, and he was 19 of 30. But it still doesn't look great. Like, even his first touchdown he threw, which was a 80-yard bomb to Parker Livingstone, the ball's still underthrown, and the receiver's wide open. The receiver had to come back to the ball. Arch still has a lot of things still to work on. Still, we talk about holy points in college football. There were a lot of points scored this weekend in college football. Hello, Doug. Well, welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
So just going through some of these high-scoring games. Ohio State put up 70. Alabama put up 73. Florida State put up 77. Texas Tech scored 62. Tennessee scored 72. Oregon scored 69. Utah scored 63. Minnesota scored 66. Nebraska scored 68. Washington scored 70. Central Florida scored 68. Holy points, holy offense this weekend. Now, granted, a lot of them were, these are good teams against, they're playing their, lower level schools this week. But still, holy points coming out of this weekend. Again, box score wise, maybe didn't look good, but if you're a football guy and just watching the game, I almost have to add, Bryce Underwood against Oklahoma was 9 of 24, 142. No touchdowns, no turnovers. But just from watching, am I ready to jump on the Bryce Underwood's better than Arch Manning train already? Again, box score wise, not going to shock you, but I'm just looking at him. Granted, again, statistics didn't look great. They didn't win. He looked more poised on the road than Arch Manning did at Ohio State. It didn't look like, regardless, anything was really kind of affecting him. Now, I know him and Justice Haynes on the sideline kind of got into it a little bit, but that was more so just team competitive fire.
Yeah.
That wasn't like the game was getting to him.
They were in that game forever.
So maybe, and again, I hate to say it, but because he's a Michigan guy, but, is Bryce Underwood really that guy? And am I ready to say he's better than Arch Manning? I don't know just yet.
Based on the money that they're paying Bryce Underwood, he's getting paid more than Arch is.
Correct. Now they play Central Michigan. We'll find out more in a couple weeks because they play Central Michigan next week, which they should win. But the week after, they go to Nebraska. So we'll find out more about Bryce Underwood and Michigan that week. John Mateer, Carson Beck. John Mateer, quarterback at Oklahoma. And Carson Beck, are they kind of leading the fire for early Heisman candidacy? Throw Isaac Brown in there because I need to. But, right now you'd have to say that they're kind of the early favorites. Mateer against Michigan last night was 21 of 34, 270, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but he also had 74 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns, so he had quite a performance on the national spotlight. And back against Bethune Cook, everybody playing kind of their lower levels, was 22 of 24, 267, and 2 touchdowns. And then obviously he had a great performance against Notre Dame last week. So maybe they're the early favorites. Next week, South Florida goes and visits Miami. Can they pull off another upset? They upset Boise State week 1. They beat Florida yesterday. Can they keep it going?
Can we talk about that schedule for a second? That's your first 3 games. That's State, tough. Florida, if they get out of there 3-0, they deserve it.
Oh, they're going to the playoff.
Well,
so if you look at USF's
what's the rest of the schedule? Yeah, let's look at the rest of the schedule.
So you go, they play Boise State, which they beat 34-7. So they beat them soundly.
Yeah, I wouldn't even.
Last night, obviously, beat Florida on a game-winning field goal at Florida.
In the swamp.
At Florida. Then they're at Miami next week. So then the rest of their schedule looks at home against South Carolina State, at home against Charlotte, at North Texas, at home against Florida Atlantic, at Memphis, at home against UTSA, at Navy, at UAB. They end the year at home against Rice. So theoretically, you're able to walk out of – listen, I would almost even say they lose to Miami, so be it. They beat Florida and Boise State. Theoretically, they could win the rest of those games that year. Maybe the Memphis game at Memphis, it's kind of up in the air with. Maybe at Navy too. But let's just say theoretically, they lose to Miami. They get the brakes beat off them against Miami. Like they've just used all gas against Florida and Boise State. They ain't got nothing left. They run the table the rest of the year, finish 11-1 with their only loss. They win the American Athletic Conference. Only loss being against Miami. I think South Florida's got a case for that group of 5, spot to get in.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, and then just, because I got to throw it in there talking about my Buckeyes. Julian saying, they said, hey, y'all didn't like how he played last week. You thought we played conservative. Watch this. Julian saying went 18 of 19 for 306 and 4 touchdowns. His only incompletion was 1 interception that he threw.
That was in the first half.
Yeah, and that was all in the first half. He didn't play the second half. So, folks, Julian saying is Himothy. Jeremiah Smith, 5 catches, 119, and 2 touchdowns in this game as well. So if you didn't like how he played week 1, there you go.
Credit to Texas' defense, though, again.
Correct, yes.
But
the other guy that I really want to talk about from Ohio State is a young man. Oh, breaking news, Christian McCaffrey is playing today for fantasy lovers.
Good.
Let's talk about a young man, a true freshman at Ohio State with probably the greatest name you could probably ever have. It's a running back, true freshman running back. And last night, he had 9 carries for 108 and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, wow.
And I'm talking about the young man whose name is Bo Lamar Jackson Jr. Now, Bo is a nickname that he used because he played running back growing up. His parents kind of gave him the nickname Bo just because he played running back.
Makes
But
sense.
his real name is Lamar Jackson Jr. But just if you put it all together, I mean, it's just too perfect. Bo Lamar Jackson Jr. I mean, what you
Destined to be
can't
great.
you can't suck with a name
Destined
like that.
to be great.
So, and I say this, I joke about his name and everything, but 9 carries, 108 touchdown, albeit against Grambling State, and he did it in the second half. But if you just go back and watch highlights, Doug, after we close out, if you want to go back and just look, we watched the Texas game. We saw C.J. Donaldson and James Peoples, who were the 2 running backs that played against Texas. They played yesterday, obviously, as well. And then you watch them in this game. Bo just moves different than those 2. I think Ohio State just needs to hand the keys over to the young man destined for greatness. I mean, you imagine if he's truly destined for what I think he is. The team that includes Jeremiah Smith, who might be the greatest college receiver we've ever seen by the time he finishes. And then just his running back duo is Bo Lamar Jackson. I mean, but again, in all seriousness, I do think they should give him more. He needs to take, if he does not starting, he definitely needs to take more reps because he moves a little different than everybody else on the field.
I didn't get to watch him play. I mean, 109, 2 touchdowns against, a shitty team. That's definitely going to get him some more PT for sure. That's going to get him some more carries. Maybe you're right. Is this Derrick Henry's on the back end of his career? Maybe a few more years. Is this a future Ravens?
Could you imagine Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson Jr.?
That'd be hilarious, and it would probably work just fine.
All right, and so real quick to wrap up the show, NFL Week 1 again starts here in about an hour and a half. We kind of went through these quickly last week, my predictions, but we'll do them because we got more time real quick. So obviously we already had Eagles-Cowboys, which Jalen Carter spitting on Dak Prescott to begin the game, and apparently Dak Prescott spitting towards Jalen Carter, which is what started that.
Saw that.
So Dak did not get thrown out. Obviously, Jalen Carter did. Part of that is because it turns into one of those, well, we didn't see it, we saw you. So sorry. You always see the second person. You never see the first person.
Right.
And then Chargers beat the Chiefs Week 1. I mean, and the Chargers look good.
They did look good.
So Justin Herbert finally putting together a great performance in a primetime game.
That's because he's dating Madison Beer now.
That maybe so. Maybe
he's like, hey, I'm living life now, baby. I'm playing.
Maybe dating the hottie is what's going to do it for him.
Good for him.
All right, and then like I said, so we'll quickly go through these real quick. I do have the Bengals beating the Browns in Cleveland today. I do have the Colts beating the Dolphins. I just don't trust this Dolphins defense. And I'm telling you, I think Daniel Jones is going to shock a lot of people with not necessarily like a stellar performance, but that the fact that he's going to be good in this offense.
Game manager.
Yeah.
He's not going to don't turn the ball over, hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. Throw it to your weapons.
Tampa and Atlanta. I do have Baker and Tampa getting a win today. And that one, Panthers, Jaguars in Jacksonville. I do have the Jaguars getting a win here. At home. Raiders, Patriots, Mike Vrabel's first game. I think Patriots come out and they stun Pete Carroll and them and get a win in Foxborough to open up the season. Cardinals, Saints. Listen, if the Cardinals can't beat the Saints today, the Cardinals are doomed for the rest of the year. We'll just do that. And Spencer Rattler is playing Doug as a starting QB today, just so you know. Not saying Tyler Shuck might not get in today, but
we'll see.
He's not starting. Steelers, Jets. Aaron Rodgers returning to New York today. I do think the Steelers get a win here. Their defense will be too much for an already struggling offense in the Jets. Commanders, Giants. Again, if the Commanders can't beat the Giants today in Washington, they may be in trouble for the rest of the year. So I've got Washington winning that one. Titans, Broncos in Denver. Tough situation for Cam Ward to open up the season with. Broncos get a win. Niners, Seahawks in Seattle. I am going to go with the 49ers here. Again, we just said Christian McCaffrey is going to play. The Niners usually, when Christian McCaffrey plays, wins a lot of football games. So And now, Ricky Pearsall, you expect to have a good year after he ended the year last year really good. Juwan Jennings, I know you don't have Ayuk, no more Debo, but you have Kittle. Those two receivers, CMC, they'll be a good enough to win. And again, I think we're going to see Sam Darnold come down to earth a little this year.
Probably so, yeah.
And then Lions, Packers, and Green Bay. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to win that one. Michael Parsons is probably going to play today. For Green Bay. Texans, Rams, another potential really good game to open up the season. I do have Matt Stafford and the Rams winning this one. Sunday Night Football. I mean, what a Sunday night game to open up our season.
Gotta love it.
Lamar versus Josh Allen. And I think Lamar and the Ravens get a win in Buffalo tonight. I think it's a nail biter. I think it's by, Tyler Loop game-winning field goal, maybe, not Justin Tucker anymore.
I got him in one league, so let's hope.
So Ravens win in Buffalo, and then Monday night to open up the season, J.J. McCarthy versus Caleb Williams. I've got the Vikings walking out with a win in Chicago on opening night Monday.
I like it. Chiefs are 0-1 since the proposal.
And it's not looking good. Xavier Worthy out indefinitely. They play Philly next week in Kansas City.
No, who are they throwing to? Travis Kelce can't do everything.
Juju Smith-Schuster was their leading receiver against the Chargers, so it's not looking too good. But I'm ready. I'm ready for some football today.
Me too, buddy. Me too. Happy first NFL Sunday to everybody. Thanks for watching this episode, listening to this episode. If you liked it, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one.